another live. I hope you guys are well and enjoying an amazing weekend. We here, there's Storm Debbie, I think, yes, Storm Debbie. And it's been raining like crazy. There's flooding, there's all kind of things going ahead. But we are pressing on. We're staying indoors, watching the weather, and we're giving all praise and thanks to the Most High for keeping us safe and ensuring that we are in the right spirit and in the right mind. So, those of you who are keeping Sabbath, hi to all my Sabbath keeping people. We had a lovely Sabbath yesterday. And so, yeah, usually I do a live on Saturday night, but yeah, I just wanted to chill, so I didn't do any live. But today we're going to continue with the live because this word got to go out. And today we are talking about raising responsible children, godly children, and building generation wealth because we want to leave wealth for our children, and we want to make sure that whatever we leave for our children, it's good enough for them, and they can continue their life easier than if we didn't leave anything for them. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's start with the first scripture, which is, we're going to start with Proverbs 13:22. And it says, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So it says, if you're a good man, you would leave an inheritance for your children's children, right? Because when you leave something for your immediate children, then they're going to pass it on to their children, and it's going to continue. Okay, so that's what it is. And why did Proverbs say that? Because when we refer to Numbers 36:4, it talks about the inheritance of the children of Israel. When we look in Exodus 17:16, it also talks about that. We look in Numbers 26:54, it talks about inheritance. Numbers 36:3, it talks about inheritance. Numbers 33:54, talk about inheritance. So inheritance is something that God is pleased with. God bless us, the Israelite people, with. And we see how the 12 tribes were given inheritance. There was laws in the scriptures about inheritance. So this is something that we should do because it is blessed, and the Most High show us how to do that. So we should do it, right? We look in another scripture is Deuteronomy 18:2. So when we look at all this scripture, we see the importance of inheritance. And so we as God's children, we should continue doing this thing. Let's move to 2 Corinthians 12:14. Let's see what 2 Corinthians 12:14 says. And it says, behold, the third time, wait a minute, 2 Corinthians 12:14. Behold, the third time I am ready to come to you. I will not be burdensome to you, for I seek not yours, but you. For the children ought not to lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children. So that is telling you that the parents must leave an inheritance for their children and not the other way around. Not children leaving inheritance for their parents, okay? The parents always leave the inheritance for the children so it can be passed on and people's life can be blessed and the generation can be better, okay? So that's what he's talking about. Okay. We're gonna also go to 1 Timothy 5:4. Let's go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 5:4. Let's see what it says there. Because those scripture is very important. And but if any widow have children, so I'm reading from 1 Timothy 5:4. If any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to show piety at home and to require their parents and to requite their parents, for this is good and acceptable before God, right? So children are expected to do things at home, to take care of what your parents have, right? So kids should be doing chores, they should be taking care of the home, they should be doing all that kind of stuff. All right. And we, the parents, should be teaching them all that stuff. Okay. This is really important. And it says all these things, this is good and acceptable before God. You understand? So the Bible gives us clear instructions how to raise our children, how to bring up our children in the world. And sadly, a lot of us, we just doing whatever we want. Then we're crying and we're saying, oh, these children are so bad. Oh, these kids are so this. These kids are so da, 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 da. But are we really doing the right thing when it comes to our children? So I made some notes here. So let's get into some of the points, because I'm going to go back to the scripture, because when I make a point, I want to make sure I read the scripture so you all can see what I am talking about. Okay? So for us to raise responsible and godly children, we need to be an example for our children, and a good example. We can't be telling, no, don't smoke, but you're smoking. That's not a good example. You can't be telling your kid, don't be promiscuous. You are promiscuous. How can Jack is coming to the house today, Aaron is coming to the house today to see mommy? No. Then when your girls go out there and you have boyfriends and then they get pregnant, why are you mad about? Why are you mad about? You're not being an example for your child. So why are you mad at the child? Like, you're not. You know, my neighbor daughter got pregnant and she was mad. She came to my husband and she was saying, oh, you know, there was, both her and the husband was so mad. They were saying the daughter got pregnant. And my husband got mad. He's like, why are you mad at her? You had that young man sleeping inside of your house. You know, your daughter is 16 years old. This man is 21 years old. And he was in your house. What do you think they were doing? And they were kind of shocked when my husband said that. You know, they were complaining and saying, blah, blah, blah. Now she got to go stay with this man, blah, blah. No, my husband said to them, he said, you know what? You better make her stay in your house, because it's your fault that this beautiful girl is pregnant, because you allowed this 21-year-old guy to come into the house. Why do you expect they're doing down in the basement? Why do you expect they're doing down there? And they were quite shocked. But that's the fact about the matter. If you condone certain stuff in your house, why are you mad when things happen to your children? Don't be mad. Just accept it. Your kid is pregnant now. Now you got to help her, because if you had said, honey, no man is coming to my house. We are not going to do this stuff. We're going to wait. When you're just at an age, we're going to get married. You're going to get married or whatever. That's what you should have done. But if you make a man come into your house and do whatever you want to your daughter, I know she's pregnant, you want the girl, no, you are very wrong as a parent. Okay? The next point so the first one, I said, be an example of to your children. And that is why I said that. Okay? The second thing is spend time with your children. A lot of parents, listen, I know it is tough out there, but God gave us these children. They are our responsibility. Work shouldn't come first in front of your children. Nuh-uh. Let me tell you, we are not working for work. We're here to enjoy ourselves on this earth. And if you have to work 4 or 5 jobs, you're not enjoying yourself. All right? I'm telling you, you're not enjoying yourself. So what is the point of all these jobs and this and that and the other? You should be on this earth enjoying your life. If you can't enjoy your life here in this particular location of this earth that you're in, move somewhere else and enjoy your life. Because if you are in this world and you're miserable, what's the point? You only have one life. So you should enjoy it, okay? So that's one of the things I'm saying. If you're in a location, it is expensive in that location, move to another location, because it's not worth your sanity. It's just not worth it. So spend time with your children, go out with your kids. If this area that you're living in, the rent is too expensive, move to another area. If you live in a country and you find maybe, you know, this part of the country is not working for me, research other places and move there with your children. You will meet people, you will make communities. It's not the end of the world. The point about it is you want to enjoy life and have a good life. That's what we're here on this earth for. Not to be working morning, noon, and night. You're tired, you come home, you can't you're just ready to go to bed, you can't even look after your kids, or you have the older kid looking after the younger kid. Nothing is wrong with that, but you are the parent, so it is your responsibility to look after your child. It is your responsibility. When our kids were young, me and my husband had a good system. My husband worked at night, I work early in the morning, so somebody was always there to take care of the children. There was always somebody home. Our kids was never left alone. None of us was extremely tired that we couldn't look after our children. We took jobs so that we can look after our children properly. Why do you have kids if you're not going to be able to look after them? That's the whole point of the matter. So let me tell you a story about our friend, okay? Our friend had two sons. And his 15-year-old son was not doing well. He got himself mixed up with some people, and he was just not doing well in school. He was kind of acting up and whatever he was kind of with. So our friend said, you know what? I need my son to grow up and be a responsible man in society. I cannot have him, misbehaving. So what he did was he bought a ticket for everybody to go on vacation in Africa because they're Africans. They were born in Africa. And he bought a ticket for the entire family to go to Africa. And he bought a ticket for the 15-year-old son, but it wasn't a ticket that's going to be no return for him. But the son had no idea because him and his wife, they had planned it. Back there, he has his brothers, he has his mother, and many other relatives that is back there in Africa. And so they spent a month there. And when the month was over, he told his 15-year-old son, we are going to return, but you are not going back. You are staying right here. We have already enrolled you in a school here. You're going to stay here with your grandmother. Your uncles are going to take care of you. You're going to stay here with your cousins, and they are going to teach you to be a man because you're out here in the West and you are not aspiring to be a man. All the things that we tell you to do, you're not doing it. He was crying. He was upset. But the father said, and the mother said, no, you're staying right here. And that's exactly what they did. They left him in Africa, and his uncle and his grandmother, they took care of him and they make sure he was fine. Every summer, the parents came to visit him. He was not allowed to leave the country. He had to stay there and grow up and be a man. And you know what? Today, that young man, he's a doctor. He is a doctor, and he's here. I think he's in Vancouver or somewhere. He's a doctor right now. And every time he speaks to my son, he says, oh, the best thing my parents did was to send me back to Africa so I can learn some manners. I can learn to behave myself. I can be the man that I am today, because today I have a community and I can take care of my community in Africa and I can take care of my community here. But you see, as parents, we have to sometimes do what is best for your children. Do what is best for them. If that our friend didn't take their son back there, could you imagine what could happen? Maybe you'd have been in some kind of gang. Maybe you would never be a doctor today. So that's what I'm talking about. We have to look at our children. We have to see their behavior. If something is now going wrong, move your kid. Take your kid from out of there and go with your kids. Because at the end of the day, the scripture said, your children basically are your inheritance, right? When you have children, you expect your kids to look after you. You expect your children to be there, So if you don't take care of them and they become bums, who's going to take care of you when you're older? You understand me? So we as parents, we have to think. You understand? I can give you my own story in my own family with my own children. I was very strict with my children when they were growing up. Very, very strict. I allowed them to have a certain amount of TV. They chose to do, they wasn't allowed to hang out with certain people. And I was strict about it. I didn't care what anybody had to say, because I care about the future of my children and I care about the scriptures. And I'm saying to myself, hey, if I don't grow up these children properly, what's going to happen to me in old age? What's going to happen to them? Would they have a future for themselves if they don't have good lives, if we didn't set the foundation for them? So it's sad to say that people have kids and they just think, okay, we have kids. But you shouldn't just have kids because you're having kids. You should have kids because you can look after them and you're going to raise them in the right way to be responsible people of society. You understand? If you don't think you have the means, you're not able, leave kids where they are. Because we're in a society today where we see all this madness is happening. And a lot of kids, sadly, we know situation happen. Maybe you lose your dad, maybe you lose your mom. You know what I mean? But if the scripture said a child left to himself would not come out to be anything, which is true. So these kids who are out there and they don't have any guidance, they don't have anybody telling them right things. You expect they're gonna grow up to be right? When you see them there with guns and they're in all kind of gangs and they're stealing, they're doing all kind of stuff, or they're online or bullying people and doing all that kind of stuff. Well, what do you expect? They have nobody to guide them. So that is exactly what they're doing. So that's why we have to be very careful when we bring children into the world. And if you are a parent, your duty is to take care of these children and make sure that they grow up properly and they become responsible people for themselves, for you, and for the society that they're going to be living in. All right? And we have to spend time with our children. It's very important that you spend time with your children. Your work shouldn't come first before your children. You know, maybe sometimes we think about too much materialistic things. Oh, you have to buy this, you have to buy that. Let me tell you, if you're sitting on the floor and you have one TV and you're sitting on the floor to watch TV and it doesn't have a chair, it's not the end of the world, right? That's not the end of the world. At least you guys are all together sitting there on the floor watching TV instead of you there working 2 jobs and your kids don't see you. All kind of stuff happen when kids are left alone. All kind of stuff happen. Kids do stuff. People come and do stuff. We have to be more vigilant as parents and stop allowing children to parent themselves. We have to parent our children, and that's just very important. And spend time with your children. I'm gonna tell you guys another story. Years ago, right? When how long was I married? Maybe a year or two. I wasn't married too long. I was young, early 20s, early, because I got married pretty young. But anyways, I was working with this family, and this family were Greek family, and they had one son, just one son. But the mom and the dad, they were business people. They work, they travel a lot, and they were not home at all. I've worked there a long time with these people, and not one time did I see the dad. I see the mom every now and then. I would see the mom maybe 2-3 times a month. The little boy, he stayed with his grandparent, right? And maybe his immediate family who were there looked after him, And this child was a young child in high school, and he had everything. He had everything that he needed. His room had everything. And back then, there was this big computers and stuff. He had computers. He had all kind of games, all kind of stuff that maybe regular people didn't have. You know what I'm saying? And they were well-off people. They were not like poor people. But he never saw his parents, right? And he's very, very rarely he saw his parents. So he was left alone with just his extended family. And I remember one day something big happened. I'm just not going to say what it is, but he did something really bad at school. You know what I'm saying? And then they had to call the parents. It was like a big wahala, like we say, And then the mom, she was mad. And she was just quarreling and she was carrying on. And, I'm working there and, she didn't care. She was just carrying on and she was mad at the father. She called the father. I think the father was in some country, whether in Indonesia or wherever the father was. But she was mad and she was yelling at the husband. And then, she was telling me look what happened. I give this boy everything that he needs, blah, blah, blah. And look, the disgrace he bring upon his family, blah, blah, blah. And she was going, I listened to her. I didn't tell her anything because I saw what was going ahead in his family. That little boy, he was lonely. He had no siblings and he didn't see his parents. And it didn't matter that he had everything. Like she said, you have money. You could buy anything you want. Why are you going to bring such disgrace on this family? And, she was just carrying on. And that little boy, I'm not saying he's right to do what he did, but it's because he was lonely and he had nobody there to guide him. His extended family were kind of oldish people. They were like elderly people. His grandma was like in her 80s, 70s. And his extended family was not like young. So who does he have to communicate with? Only the friends at school, right? So that was a bad idea. And she was mad and she was upset and she carried on. And whatever. It was a disgrace. I just don't want to say what happened because just for the I don't want to I don't want to for professionalism. I don't want to say what happened. But anyways, the whole point about it is that mom and that dad was not there for the son, and that is why the son get himself into such big trouble and messes. You understand? And then they had to go fix it, and they had to apologize to people. It was a whole disaster. You understand what I'm saying? So some of us, sometimes we don't pay attention to all that stuff. Giving your kid a Nintendo, giving your kid some kind of game, buying a TV for your kid, like this is not like attention. A child needs to be there feeling emotional connection with your parents. Yeah, you need to a boy need to feel an emotional connection with their father. Take them fishing, take them to the movies, read the scripture with them, just hang out with your kid, sit outside on a bench, hug your kid, love your kid. This is what children need. You sometimes fathers and mothers are in the house, but they don't spend no time with the kid. They're sitting here, the kid is sitting right there, they don't say one word to the kid. Not one word. The kid has no personal whatever. Read a story to your kid. Go lay in the bed with your kid, read a book, laugh, watch something together. You're spending quality time with your kid. Tell your child that you're beautiful. Hey, let's go have a daddy day. Let's go have a girl's day out. Stuff like that. This is spending quality time with your kid. Giving your kid a computer, giving your kid some kind of Nintendo game. This is not spending time with your kid. You understand? Because the kid is there playing with the thing, but he's not with you. You know what I'm saying? So you're not really spending time. You're spending time with the thing. Okay? So another thing as parents, we need to teach our children to appreciate what they have. I remember one time my daughter came home and said, "Oh, mom, I want to buy that because my friend had this at school and she had this nice doll." And my daughter was going on and about that. And I had to talk to her. I said, "Well, you're not getting a dolly or all this kind of toys you tell me about because your friend have it. Do you have stuff at home here to play with? Yes. How much things you have? A lot of things." And I said, "Tell me exactly what you have." "Oh, mom, I have a whole container of stuff." I said, "So why do you need any other thing?" And I asked her, I said, "Do you want those toys because your friend had it, or do you want those toys because you saw them and you actually like it and you want to play with it?" And she said because her friend have it and she would like to have the same thing that her friend has. So you see what I'm saying? You have to teach your children to be appreciative. And I had to talk to her for weeks and weeks and explain stuff to her and tell her this and tell her that. And eventually she stopped, she stopped that stuff. Stop saying, "Oh, she wants it because her friend have it. Does she want that because her friend have it?" Learn to appreciate what you have. And I tell her, it's like when you see something and you want it, it's covetousness. I said, when you see another person have something, you're crying for it, you want it, you carrying on, you're being rude, it is a sin. You're sinning, So I had to explain all that stuff to her. And she eventually get it, and then she stopped this kind of behavior. But as parents, this is our job to do that. Another thing I want to talk about is, as parents, like, we should stop throwing our kids out of the house when they're 16 years old, 18 years old. "Oh, leave my house." When I was a teenager, I was like 16 years or something like that. My cousin, she must get you, I think she has six or seven children she had. And she built this big house. And she made a room for everybody, making sure all her kids had a room, and everybody was like, "Oh, why is she doing that, blah, blah." But this woman, she knew what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was, she's a Christian woman, and she read her scriptures, and I guess she just wanted to follow the Bible. I was young, I didn't understand what she was doing myself, but I know all the neighbors talked about her, and they said, "Oh, she just wanted to suck her kids dry. She's such a wicked woman," and they were just saying all kind of bad thing about her. But I didn't understand what she was doing. But she built a house, a big house. I think her house was like one of the biggest houses, but she built that big house, and she put rooms for all her kids. And she said, "Nobody's leaving this house. Nobody's going anywhere and stay. You guys are going to stay inside this house. You have your rooms, and everybody's going to contribute to the running of the house." Now, was this woman wrong? Was she wrong to say that? No, she wasn't wrong. Today, when I think about it, now knowing all information that I know, I know what this woman was doing. So all the kids stay, and every kid had to contribute in some small way, whether they pay the electricity bill, whether they help with food and all that stuff. They had to give her every month, they had to give her some money. Every single month, they had to give her some money. But look at our children today. Our children, they all turn out to be good people, you know? And they understood what life is. You know, her daughter is a nurse. Just recently, her daughter is going to do some other job. She got a master's degree in something. Her sons are doing well. I mean, her kids are doing well because their mom set this foundation, and their father set this foundation from them since they were young, and now they understand. Now they're older, they were living in that house, they were paying maybe $30 for, you know, it wasn't a lot of money back then, but they were able to find work, jobs for themselves. They were able to live in the house with their mom and their dad, and they were able to save their money. So now when they're older, they can move on to the house and have a good financial foundation, because they were living with their mom. They wasn't paying rent anywhere. They didn't have their own house. They didn't have all that stuff. So all the money that they're working for, they could have saved it, you know. And even one of her daughters, she's still staying in the house with her. She's gonna be like, how much now? She's like 30, almost, yeah, she's about 36, 37 years old. And she's still living in the house with her parents. And actually, two daughters are still living there. And I think one son is married and the son's living there. But that's the whole point of the matter. When you throw your kids out of the house, then they have to go pay rent, this, that, blah, blah, blah. If you teach your children the right thing when they're growing up, they would not be disrespectful to you, and they would have no problem paying the rent. When I understood what someone was doing, I had a conversation with her. Yes, I did. I had a conversation with her. And she told me a lot of stuff, and I was like, yes. You know, because when you see somebody doing something and you see it's good, you need to go and ask them, so, you know, why do you do that? Ask simple questions so you're going to learn. And she told me, she said, I do that so my kids will have a better life, a better foundation for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So now when I had my kids, I said, I'm going to follow her and do the same thing. But I didn't even need to tell my kids to pay rent. I didn't tell my kids nothing, honestly. Up till today, two of my boys, you know, they're at home, and I don't have to tell them to pay nothing. Nothing. I don't have to tell them. The mortgage come, they pay. Okay? Not the mortgage, what do you call that? The taxes. The taxes come, they pay for it. You know? Something break in the house, they pay for it. They say, oh mom, this thing break, and we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix the siding of the house. The last time we had something in our roof, our son fixed it. Like when you grow up your children in a certain way, like they are not, you have to ask them, because they understand the value that these things that is there is going to be for them. It's like for their generation, for the children. My sons and my children, my children, my children, they understand that whatever me and their father has belongs to them. So they are taking the initiative to take care of the things that we have, so it will be passed on to them. And that is something that we are lacking in our Black community. And we have to stop that. Stop pitching your kid outside, telling them, oh, go rent a place now. You're a man, you're a woman. Why can't you guys remain in the same house and live together in peace and harmony and share what you have? I want to tell you guys something, right? We went on vacation, not last year, the year before, me and my husband. We were in the United States, and we were passing through some towns. We went through this place where they had some like colonial slave area. I think it was in Carolina. Carolina, North Carolina. Which place was it? Anyway, one of those places where they had the slave places. And we had we were running out of gas because we was going through all these places and we couldn't find a gas station. So we had to look for a gas station. Even we had a map on our phone, but then we keep losing connection. So I guess we were kind of way out in the countryside and we were kind of running low on gas. So we had to look for a gas station really quick before we run out of gas, and we have no gas, and we're kind of in the boony area. Anyways, finally we came upon this little gas station in the middle of nowhere, you know, and then this Indian guy came out to serve us. He was so happy to see us, you know, and he started chatting. He looked at our license plate. He says, I know you guys not from the States. He says, oh, you guys are from Canada, you know. We told him we're from Canada. So we were chatting, And then he told us that he came from a village in India, and he said the entire village put together so that he can come to Canada and they can open up a business. Like they want to open a gas station. So the entire community put together so he can come and they'll open a gas station. So he came and he got this little gas station, he renovated it, and so now he has his gas station. So he has his gas station, I think he says for 1 or 2 years or something like that. He said the gas station is doing really well because it's kind of on the outskirts of town and everybody buy gas there. Because it's just like it's on the outskirts of town and it's kind of far away. So it's just like right smack there. So it's a good place to have a gas station. And he said the deal with them is the communities, once the business made profit, he has to send back money to all the people who gave him money and give them back their money. And then the deal was to bring some other people with him to work in the gas station, and to help out stuff. And he said, yeah, he was such a nice guy. He was just telling us how, they all live in the same house and they all save up money. And now he said that year when we was there, he said this year, we're planning to bring in 4 more people, whatever. So you see, like this guy came from India. He told us how poor he was and how his community come together to send him here in Canada, okay? To send him there in the US. And at the success that they have achieved in over the couple of years that he was there. Why can't us Black folks do the same thing? Why do we have to separate? Send your kids out of the house. You see, he came here. He sent for other people. They all had rented a house. They all stayed together. Now, other people are coming and people are benefiting. In a short time, maybe this guy is going to have another gas station. Other people from his community are going to come. Everybody's going to have something. And that is the mindset we as people have to get. Black people, Israelite people out there. All right, you need to have that mindset. You need to have that mindset of working together in a team for the betterance of everybody, for the betterance of your family. Don't be pitching your kids out when they're 18 years old. Teach your kid good manners. Teach your children values. Teach your children how to behave themselves. Have some value for yourself as a parent. Because honestly, I think that a lot of children are gone astray because of bad parenting. And the scripture tell us how to parent our children. The scripture tell us how to behave ourselves, and if we behave ourselves in this manner, our children would come out proper. But unfortunately, we are the parents sometimes are just way on the other side and our kids are way over there, I was talking to my friends again today. I was at their house and, they were saying, that basically they will never go back to the country where they're from, blah, blah, blah. But they're seeing how their children has changed since they moved here. And I'm saying, but if the place where you come from has such good values, why wouldn't you take your children back there so they can get that good values? Like you see your children are kind of going on the other side. Why would you leave them to go on the other side? Don't you think it's going to be a problem later on in life? And, the father said, yeah, we basically, we think it's going to be a problem later. But, we have landed ourselves here. We don't want to uproot ourselves. That's going to be a difficult job, for us to uproot everybody again and go back over there. What will people think? And listen, people, stop thinking about what people think. If you see your kid is heading down the bad road, move them. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere where they're going to have better values, where they're going to behave themselves, okay? It's better for you to keep your kid alive than your kid die and you have no kid, all right? And a lot of us parents need to wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up, all right? Every time I see one of our Black brothers and sisters is dead, I'm not talking about police brutality or anything like that. I'm talking about like gang, shoot up, and all kind of thing. I was recently downtown in a festival, just a regular festival. People are just enjoying themselves, eating food, whatever. And there was a shootout, right? In the middle of downtown. You understand me? Middle of downtown, people is just eating, walking on the street, and there was a shootout. You understand? Can you imagine? This is the first time in my life I ever been in a shootout. People were scrambling and run inside a building. It was just like crazy. Can you imagine those kind of stuff? It's ridiculous. So we have to be very careful about how we raise our children, and when we see signs of things that is happening, we have to take steps and get our kids out of there. If you see your child is hanging out with some bad people, get them out of there. They're hanging in schools where there's a bad vibes, bad gangs, get them out of there. You know what I'm saying? Get them out of there. The worst thing is you have your kid become some kind of drug addict, come inside the house, taking your money, doing all kind of stuff, then you become scared of the kid. Like, no, you can't afford to have that happen, you know? Like, that is why the Most High said we need mothers and fathers to take care of children. We understand that, some fathers, they leave for no reason, we don't know. We understand that people die, you may be a widow, and you don't have your husband dies, so we don't want to left with his children. But that's why you need to surround yourself with good people who can help you be a good role model for your children. And some of you who didn't do it the right way, and maybe you didn't get married or something, and you become a single parent, you still have to make sure that your children are with the right set of people, because you'll be crying over their grave, or you'll be crying at home every single night because your kids are out there, you don't know where they are, and if you talk to them, they're not going to listen to you. So what is it? The scripture said you need to bend the child when they're young. That means you got to start when the child is young to discipline that child when the child is young and show them understanding and knowledge, so that when they get older, they will take that knowledge and understand. And the scripture also said that if you teach a child wisdom and understanding and knowledge, when they grow up, they would not depart from it. So as parents, we have a big job. We have a big job, and we need to take that job seriously. This world out here, it's a distraction. It's a distraction for our children. All this computer, all these games, all that kind of stuff that is there. It's a distraction. I want to ask some of you parents, when last have you sat down with your child and read the scripture? When last have you tell your child about all this distraction that is in the world? When last have you spoken to your child and say, this game was created for this? Do you know that this TV was created for that? Like, as parents, you need to do your own research and educate your children. Educate your children. When I used to teach in elementary school, one of the parents told me that she said she believes in Islam, right? And she said in her community where she's from, her kids are taught the Quran from since they are tiny, and they're supposed to read the Quran and be able to recite the Quran, right? And she said it's a form of indoctrination, she said, but it's good for them because they understand the rules and regulation of the religion. She's right, what she's saying, right? But that's her culture, that's her religion, and that's what she believes, and that's what she says. So why are we not indoctrinating our children with the good values that we have? Since your child, like she said, since the kids are very, very, very small, she said they learn to recite. Then once they come to read, they're supposed to read the entire thing. And they're supposed to be able to say it. Like if somebody asks them, what is this one? Be able to recite it, So since we have all these good values, why aren't we not asking our kids, okay, recite Psalm 101, recite Revelation this? Why aren't you asking your kids these questions? Like I ask my child all the time, like when I take her to the school bus, I say, okay, so if somebody do this, somebody do that, what would you do? And then she tells me, oh mom, well, I would do this because it is the right thing. I would not do that because that is the wrong thing to do. So you have to give your children scenarios since they're small, so they understand good and evil, right and wrong, and they're able to think and reason and make good decisions for their own life. But if you just leave your kids on their own, how are they going to reason with themselves? How they will be able to know right from wrong? How would they be able to, when situations and things come in their life, how would they be able to differ? And then they're saying, oh, my kid, I don't understand him. It is you, parents. It is you. I blame you all for if your children are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We live in a society where You can give your kids consequence. Another recent thing is like a couple of weeks ago, somebody called my husband. I was getting asking advice from him because their child was misbehaving terribly, and the child told them, if you touch me, I am going to call the police. And this is a 14-year-old boy who's saying this thing to his father. And the father said, well, I work in my job that I'm working. This father had problems with his daughters, and the social worker came and took them away, and the father had to go to counseling or whatever. This system that we're in is a terrible system. Terrible system. You understand? It's a terrible system. And if you leave your children to this system, it will be a disaster. I am telling you guys right now, it's going to be a disaster. I have friends who every summer, they take their kids back to their country. They take their kids back to their country and they spend all the summers over there because they do not want their children to be here in this mess. You understand? I tell my children since they're young, I said, in my house, you get food, clothes, shelter, love, all kind of stuff, good stuff in my house. If you want to call 911, you can go to a foster parent house. And you know what I did? I read them many, many stories. I said, look what happened in this foster home. Look what happened in this foster home. Look what happened in this foster home. I said, oh, you want to go there? I told them since they were quite small. You understand? I tell them, I said, oh, if we tell you to wash the dishes or to put your clothes in the laundry basket, or we tell you to do something, you don't do it, and we punish you, who is wrong? Is it you or us? Oh, we are wrong. But why would you want to call 911, or why would you want to do that kind of stuff? You understand? I say you want to go to social place there to stay. They quickly understood what I meant. They quickly understood. You have to make your children understand the system, because if you don't make them understand the system, they will think, oh, I'm going to go to foster home and it's going to be nicer than my parents' home. Poor kids, they don't know what's going to happen there. They're going to go there and suffer. You have to make your kids understand suffering. If they don't do certain stuff, they're going to suffer. Okay? And to not listen to other people, because those people out there are leading them astray. And you have to be able to make your children understand that stuff. You understand me? It is our job to drill these things into our children. I'm telling you, I tell my kids, I say, okay. I say, oh, they're misbehaving. And I said, well, okay. I will call social services for you guys. What do you think? You want to go over there and stay? No. We don't want to do that. Social services and all that places is a bad place. You better start telling your kids these things. Start telling them that things. And not just telling them, but show them what happened in the system. Educate your children about what is happening in this world. So they're not going to say, oh, mommy and daddy's just talking. Show them what is happening. Explain to them what is happening out there. And they don't want, tell them what's going to happen if they get themselves caught up in that mess. Tell them. Tell your boys, right? Tell your boys, all right? If you get yourself in gang, you're going to go to jail. You can't travel. Your life is finished. Your life is ruined. But not only tell your children stuff, but have ways, opportunities for your children to get involved with things. Like, bring your children to let your child do some activity. If your child likes sports, enroll your child in some kind of sport. Your child likes to swim, take your child swimming. Your child likes to fish, take your child fishing. Like, the passions and the things that your child have, let them do it. My daughter, she's 7 years old. She was like 4 years old. She liked to sew. I mean, I sew also. But she liked to sew. Her father went out and buy her a sewing machine. You understand? He bought a cloth, scissors. She can cut up any cloth that she wants. She could make her stuff, whatever. That's what we did. We make sure we give our children the things that they love to do and then sure they do it. Our kids, all of our kids love music. Everybody had an instrument. We didn't buy an instrument. Everybody didn't get an instrument at the same time, but we saved our money and we bought instruments so they can play music, and all of our children can play music. So these are the things you have to invest in your children. You have to. Your kid can't be staying at home and not doing anything. They're going to be bored, and we have a saying back home which says, idle hands is the devil workshop. You understand? They have nothing to do. They're going to get themselves in trouble. You understand? Send your child to a community center where they can take part in some leadership skills. They can be a buddy for somebody. Like, you have to find things that your children can engage themselves in and not be sitting on this computer playing games and whatever, whatever. I've worked with so many families in the past, when I didn't have any kids, or even when I had one or two children. And something that I noticed with successful people with their families and their children, they didn't watch TV at all. Or if they watched TV, it was 30 minutes. 30 minutes, you know? So they weren't there watching TV for hours, or they wasn't playing games. They had music to play, they had so much activities to do. And I said to myself, wow, and when I looked at their children are doing well. But now when I look at our community on a whole, our community is not doing well because we're not taking the good examples that is out there and bring it home to our families. And our kids are watching TV for hours. What? No, you can't allow that. Your child has to play music. Your child, listen. Sometimes you guys think that, think this is too expensive for me. There is a price for every single body. And stop making excuses. You don't have to buy a $3,000 guitar. You can buy a $200 guitar. You can buy $100 guitar. You can go to the thrift store and find a guitar for your child. You can buy a small keyboard so your child can play music. There's keyboard out there for under $100. When you have more money, you can buy a more expensive thing if your child is doing really well on that. You can buy a secondhand piano and bring it into your house that the kid play. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be more like on par with our children. We have to focus on our children because they are the next generation. They're the ones that's gonna take care of us. They're the one that's gonna be the next leader of the generation that is coming. And if you don't put good values in them, Lord help us. So it's a shame when I see certain things in my community. I see all this stuff that is happening. I feel really, bad about it because I think that as a whole, as a group, we need to do better. We do need to do better. Stop throwing your kids out of the house. And the next point I'm going to make is old age. We have to think about old age as people. The scripture tells us about old age, right? That you should take care of your parents when they're just at an age, and the scripture has an age there. You understand? So if you as the parent don't teach your child to have good values, to have good work ethics, when you get old, how is that child supposed to look after you when you didn't set the foundation for that child to be a good person, a responsible person, a person who loves working, a person who likes to take care of himself and his family and you and his extended family and have the love for himself and his family? How? Me and my husband was recently at the grocery store. We were coming out and we meet this man, and he was just talking to us. And the conversation came up. Actually, he was close to our car, so we was kind of coming out. Some people are friendly and they just say hi when say hi to each other. And for some reason, we just started talking, and the conversation came up about old age. And we found out that he's the owner of the nursing homes in the area. So he owns most of the nursing homes in the area. And he said today he's feeling really sad. And we say, oh, what happened? And he said because somebody in his nursing home died and they've been there for years and nobody come to claim the body. And obviously they're gonna have to burn the body and just bury the person somewhere because no family members come. And he said, since that person was in this home, nobody even come to visit. Every month the money came out, or was had to pay for the person, but nobody came to visit the person. So, the person had family members, right? It's not like the person don't have family members, but the family members, they don't put like the contact or anything there. When they speak to the person, when the person was in good health and stuff like that, they said, well, I have my children or my uncle or my nephew or my niece or whatever, but nobody ever come visit her. Nobody ever come visit. And now the person is dead and nobody even come to claim the body, And we just started talking, and he was just saying this is not the only person, but there's so much old people in these homes that nobody comes to see them, nobody comes to visit, talk with them or anything. It's like they just left there, So is that the life you want? Is that the life that you want, to be an old person and you don't have any children coming to visit you? Your kids are all gone. Nobody comes to visit mom. Like, we have to set the foundation for our life, especially when we come to old age. Because, we're married people, yes, but uh, one person is going to die eventually and you're going to be left alone without a partner. So we really can't even say, okay, we're going to have each other forever. So we're going to take care of each other. Because at some point, one of the partner is going to die, you know? And even sometimes if we're still alive, sometimes we might be old and we need people to come and bring those things for us, basic things. Because when you're old, you're 70, 80, or whatever age you are, your body is not the same. You're going to need somebody to be there to take care of you. So who is going to take care of you? And with this system that we're in, with all this how expensive this place is, some of us won't even be able to go in those homes because we will not even have the money. The little pension that the government is going to give to us, it's not going to be enough to go in those homes. Those homes cost a lot of money. So maybe, you might retire somewhere in your island where you come from, or maybe you might go somewhere else close to where you have family members or relative, maybe in a warmer place or something, but you still need somebody to check in on you, to, somebody who you trust and all that kind of stuff. So that is why it's so important that if you have children, you grow them up in righteousness, and you as a parent, like I read the scripture for you guys in 2 Corinthians, it says that it is our duty to take care of the children. That means we as parents must work to leave things for our children so that they can take care of themselves and they can take care of us. And then these things are going to be passed on to their children. And when their children get older, they're going to take care of them. You understand? So the Bible gives us instructions on how we should live our lives and what we should do. So I pray that all of us would start living the right life, and our lives will be pleasing to the Most High, and our lives will be blessed, because that's what we should do. And we should really, really pay attention to how we treat our children, how we raise our children, and what we say to our children. I even had to chastise my cousin not too long ago. She was there swearing at her children. I'm saying to her, are you mad? You can't talk to your child like that. You can't be swearing at your child. If you swear at your child would swear at you too. And sometimes I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand. Maybe I would never understand people. But how do you expect to swear at your child? Right? Saying all that stuff to your child. And you expect your child to respect you. Nuh-uh. We need to change our behavior and our attitude and the things that we do and be a good example to our children. We need to speak to our children with respect. Yes, the children are under you when they're younger and a certain age, not because you're the parent, you want to speak to your child how you want, to treat them how you want. If you treat a child with love, the child will treat you with love. If you treat a child with respect, the child will respect you. If you abuse your child will hate you, and eventually your child will abuse you too. Because if you're going to be hitting your child for no reason, the child is going to retaliate. The child is not going to be staying there making you beat them up for no reason. You understand? Or when you get angry or whatever, you're acting like an idiot. Like we have to kind of get away from this kind of behavior as Black women, as people. We just have to kind of get away from that stuff and start living righteously. A righteous woman is not going to behave like that. A righteous father is not going to behave like that. The scripture is very clear in how it tells us to behave, how we're supposed to speak. It clearly says that we must speak edifying words, not only to ourselves and to our spouse, but to our children. We must edify our children. Tell our children edifying things. If your child does something wrong, don't be cursing that child. Tell the child, listen, you steal the cookie from the jar. I am very disappointed in you that you stole the cookie from the jar. So you are going to go maybe sweep the yard. And you're going to sweep the yard for the entire week because you have stole the cookie out of the jar, and explain to the child, stealing is a sin. Show the child the scripture. According to this scripture, the 10 commandments, you mustn't sin. Show them what happened in the Torah, in the early part of the Bible, the first books, the beginning of the Bible is called the Torah. Show them what happened to people who steal. Show them the law, what says about stealing, what God says. Because if you live in a godly home, You should use the scripture to relate things to your child or to your children when they do wrong, not your own thinking. Don't be telling the child all kind of stuff about their personal self and the this and the that. This is not the way you should. That's not the way you should parent your child. And I'm not telling anybody how to parent the children, but I'm just giving you advice, right? You can take whatever advice you want out of what I'm saying on how you should really, treat your children. Because like I told my cousin, I said, you must be mad. You cannot be giving your child this F-bombs because, the child did something. Like, that's not the way to go, and she didn't even listen to me. She was just carrying on like nobody's business. I told that boy, I told that boy, and she was just going around. I'm saying, even when I speak to you and I told you about you still continue with this F-bomb. The child is going to tell you the F-bomb one day too. So it's like, sometimes people doesn't understand, like, you set the tone for your family. You set the tone for your children. And if it is wrong, then everything is just gonna fall apart, We have to stop being Jezebel women, and we have to learn how to be righteous women. I'm sorry, but in slavery, a lot of things happened to us, and a lot of things was robbed from us. And because we were taken away and stripped of our heritage, a lot of things have been lost, but it is our duty to go out there and seek the good. Take the good and bring it home to your family and get rid of the bad, because it's not going to be beneficial to any single person. So the last scripture I'm going to read is Colossians 3:20. And we are going to see what it says. So we're going to go to Colossians. I love the Bible, man. The Bible is the best thing that ever happened to me. Colossians 3:20. All right. And it says, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. So, father, if you're provoking your children to anger, they will be discouraged. And if a child is discouraged, what's going to happen? The child is going to become stressed. The child is going to have anxiety. And that child is not going to be good for you, the family. They're not going to be good for themselves, and they're going to cause problems out there. Okay? So that's all I have for today. And I hope this message reached you far and wide wherever you are. And I hope you learned something. And if you're doing things that are contrary, I hope you decide to change your ways and call upon the Most High and ask Him to show you how to be a better parent if you are not acting the way that you should. And if you are doing all those right things that I said, well, blessings to you, and continue in goodness, continue in holiness, continue in righteousness. And if you can be an example to anyone out there, make sure you go out there and you speak to them and tell them edifying words. And if you speak to somebody and they didn't listen to you, well, just move on and find somebody else who wants your words and who wants the things that the Most High has tell you to do. So you guys, I will see you in the next live tomorrow, and we're going to start a series of herbs, how to use different herbs, because it was requested that you guys want me to do herbs, different herbs, and say the values of them and how to use them and how we can implement it. So I'm going to start a series. I'm not sure if it's tomorrow because I already had a live for tomorrow. Maybe I'll start it the other day. All right, so guys, stay blessed. Shalom. Welcome to everybody in the live. I see you all. I'm very grateful for all of you who come onto the live and listen to the word. I thank you all for the love and the support. And shalom and blessings to you all.